Penrith Panthers take on the West Tigers head-to-head at Carrington Park in Bathurst this Saturday, 29 April, and the best place to watch it live and loud is at West Ashfield. You can grab a big, juicy burger while you show your support from the home of the West Tigers, West Ashfield. This NRL season, head down to any of the Holman Barnes Group venues, Croydon Sports, Markets Club, or West Ashfield to watch your favourite games on their large screens, live and loud. For more information, visit holmanbarnesgroup.com.au. Holman Barnes Group, bringing people together. And welcome into another episode of the West Life Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Barnett. We are sponsored by Holman Barnes Group, which includes West Ashfield Leagues, the best place to watch the game live and loud this Saturday evening when we take on the Penrith Panthers. We've got a special guest to preview that game on tonight. I'll get to the boys in just a second. If you're probably on a computer if you're listening to this, or on a smart device, give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at WestlifePod if you use those socials, and take part in the show, patreon.com/Westlife. Patreons, if you're hearing this, chuck your questions in the Discord channel and we'll get to those later in the show. And shouts to everyone tuning in on our YouTube channel. If you haven't been there before, please go look for it, Westlife Pod on YouTube. Give us a subscribe, turn notifications on, like our stuff, help us with the algorithm. We really want to get the subscriptions up on the channel, and you also get a chance. If you've never watched us on YouTube before, only listened to us, which is probably 75% of our listeners, I guess. But check out, if you want to see our pretty faces, go over to, actually it's not selling it really, is it? You can see pretty pictures that I put up on the slideshow. So head over to the YouTube channel, give us a like and a subscribe. Who do we go to first? We'll go to Mr. Bashara. How are you on this Wednesday evening, and looking forward to another West Tigers match this weekend?
G'day, boys. G'day, listeners. Yeah, I'm okay. I had planned to go to Bathurst, but after the start of the year, I canned those plans pretty quickly. But that said, Penrith might be resting some players, which could be a bit of a leveler, even though we've got a couple of guys missing. So, looking forward to it.
And Mr. Thompson, how are you this evening?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, Josh. G'day, Rob. G'day, Ryan. G'day, everyone who's watching or listening. Yeah, just having a nice chill night tonight, trying to not think too heavily about the game on Saturday. If I still lived in Orange, I was probably going to be going to this one. Plans for that were scuppered for me late last year, but I was aiming to go, considering it was an away game closer to home than practically any other game I could ever go to. So, I'll be watching here in the big smoke instead.
That's kind of similar to me. I can't remember. I probably mentioned this on the show before, but I lived in Parramatta when we played at Homebush, and then I moved to Homebush, and we moved to Parramatta. So, but literally the year I moved to Homebush, they moved to Parramatta the next year. But Ryan, our Panthers fan, this is your second time on the show, I think. Second or third?
Correct. Second.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And coming in from my home area, the Central Coast. How did you become I've probably asked you this last episode, but how did you become a Panthers fan, being from the Central Coast?
That's where my family's from originally, obviously.
Okay.
I'm second generation Panthers fan.
Yep, fair enough. I mean, my family all grew up in Rudy Hill, and they all moved up the Central Coast. So it seems to be a pretty common path to go from out west to up to Penrith by the Sea. Some people call Gosford, even though Gosford's technically not by the sea. But big show tonight. Welcome in. Lots of comments coming through. So I was kind of trying to multitask and see what the people are saying. So thank you for tuning in. We're back to a normal time tonight, Wednesday 8:30, and we'll be back to Monday 8:30. Obviously, Anzac Day. The night before Anzac Day, we were a little bit later, and then last week, obviously, our scheduling was a bit off. So we promise we will be back in a routine, creature of habit, as Rob likes to say. So, thanks to everyone joining in to the news first. So this was announced on Sunday, and we forgot to put it in on Monday. So we do apologise to our girls who the team, the NRLW team, is coming through very nicely. We obviously announced a few of the signings, basically pinching a few Parramatta players like Tess Staines and the likes. But here we've announced some of the junior girls that have completed the squad. I think the squad, they got 17 on the roster, I think, now.
So we still need a few more. The squad's going to be 24 and then either 3 or 4 development players. So there's still a bit of a ways to go. But yeah, you pretty much summed that up. All of these girls have been coming up through our pathways. Some of them all the way since the Tasha Gale days, back when that originally was created. And then all of them have played alongside each other in our Harvey Norman women's team. All 9 of them, I'll give their names in just a moment, but all 9 of them were a part of our premiership winning squad last year. So it's good to know that we've got the connections there amongst the girls, and the fact that a lot of them have played with each other, played alongside each other going up through the ranks. So we've got, let me just pull up their list of names. I had it a moment ago. The list is all the way at the top of the article, not at the bottom. I don't know how I went down there. Anyway, Emily Curtin, Sophie Curtin, Bianca Bennett, Rebecca Pollard, Imogen Gobrin, Hope Tavanga, Josie Lanaz, Ebony Pryor, and Jessica Kennedy.
Beautiful. Yep. Someone's asking in the comments, when's the NRL? We really should. Have they announced when the start is yet?
I don't think they've given us a start date yet.
Okay, that's why we haven't looked it up.
Yeah, I've mentioned it a few times. We're probably going to be starting mid to late June or early July, I believe, is when the season will be starting. It may start after Origin, because there's the 2 Origin games this year, and I think they're both in June. Pre-season for the girls who won't be in the Origin squad, though, starts late May, so late next month.
You Sparkle Art on YouTube. So can we talk about the Curtin girls? Absolutely. I mean, was it Emily kicked the winning field goal in the grand final?
Yes, it was Emily who kicked the goals and the field goal. Yeah, Emily is an absolute superstar in the making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Her sister Sophie, they're both incredibly talented. I've seen their dad on Twitter, spoken to him a few times. He should be absolutely incredibly proud of his 2 girls. They've played alongside each other basically all the way through their junior days, even before they joined the Tasha Gale squad. So they are 2 incredible talents. They're homegrown. Obviously, they've played for other NRLW teams in previous seasons, but that's because we didn't have a team. But I am absolutely stoked that we've signed them for our inaugural team. I remember not long after we signed the first trio, I was like, yep, let's add the Curtin sisters to that, and we're looking sweet. We've done that. We've added a lot more talent around them as well, including girls like Tess Staines and Rakia Horn. So, yeah, the squad is looking absolutely brilliant. And like I mentioned before, they've all played together in some way, shape, or form. Like Kezzy Apps was a part of that squad last year too. She was a part of that team. So when you bring a new team into a comp, you're going to have a lot of new combinations. We've basically bypassed a lot of that with a lot of the girls that have come to us. So there will take a bit of time for the team to gel as a whole. But the fact that we've got so many girls who've already played alongside each other is looking pretty good for us moving forward.
Yeah, I guess we could call them like the Johns brothers coming through. We've got the future Andrew Johns in the men's side, and now we've got the Johns brothers of the women's coming through. I just saw Blake on the comments. He's asked if we can wish his dad happy birthday for Saturday. So happy birthday to your dad, Blake. He's hoping that he's turning 59. He's hoping they get a win for him by the time he turns 60. Right, some sad news. So Charlie Staines has come out this week, today, that he has had an operation on his stomach. So does anyone have handy? I really should have added this to this. I had it up before with the exact injury is called. Does anyone know off the top of their head what it is
Perforated
called?
bowel.
Thank you. Perforated bowel, which I'm not a doctor and I don't know too much of what that means, but it does not sound good. And the fact he's had an operation for it and he played through it, which is pretty insane. So I don't know what part of the match he got it, but he apparently played a lot of the game with it, which is crazy. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he did it during his try.
Like the landing, it was a pretty good leap though. He kind of flipped and landed on his back and rolled perfectly back to his feet. So I had to come from
tackle
contact.
gone wrong or something.
Yeah, it had to come from impact, surely. So I don't know if NRL physios put anything out about it, but not good. It's not even an injury. Like it's literally an internal organ. So yeah, not good.
Yeah, it's considered a medical emergency as well. So it's good that he's already been operated on and he's in a stable condition. So fingers crossed for a speedy recovery.
Lucky that nothing happened. Basically, worse than being out for 8 to 12 weeks. So it sucks. We can't take a trick the club at the moment. So literally an injury that I've never ever heard of happening in rugby league before happens to us. So
Ryan's a big fan of Charlie too, aren't you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think he's got huge potential. I thought he was one of your best against Parramatta. Besides one bad drop, he kept you in that game. So it's a bit of a shame not to see him just get some game time under his belt.
Yeah, no, he was starting to look. I mean, he was all right at fullback, but on the wing, which he played for the Panthers, obviously, he was solid and kept Nofaluma out of first grade. So, it sucks. So, fingers crossed we get to see, because he's obviously not under contract for next year. So, hopefully he gets back and with enough time to impress and maybe get another deal. The club, they unveiled their Indigenous jersey for this year. It came out today. For those who can't see, I've got it up on the screen on the YouTube stream here. It's basically the black jersey, but with various obviously Indigenous artwork around it, as opposed to in previous years. They've kind of used a clean slate. This one, I don't know. This one hasn't grabbed me like ones. Maybe it's black, and I don't want to make this a black versus orange thing, because I actually do love our black jerseys. But the orange one from last year, that you wear it to most games, that I've seen you this year, that one grabbed me a little bit more. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one, Az?
Yeah, I think the orange stands out a bit more. It surprises me that they haven't gone with an orange one this time around as well, because we normally wear our orange jersey, the away jersey, at Leichhardt, and it's a home game at Leichhardt for us. I wasn't too keen on it at first. I thought they might have just tried to make it a bit more colourful than they normally do, because we normally go with like an orange and black with maybe a little bit of white here and there sort of style. But now that I've had a bit more of a look at it and a bit more of a think about it, I don't actually mind it. I'm looking forward to an article where they give us a bit more of like a story or a background on it. Not my favorite. I do like that they've incorporated the Torres Strait Islander flag symbol on there too, which is something you don't really see a lot of. So yeah, it's growing on me a little bit. Not my first choice Indigenous jersey, but not bad overall.
A couple of comments. You sparkle art against it. Really like this one, especially as an artist. Well, you're more of an expert than me, so maybe we should take her advice over mine. What about you, Rob? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, first time I've seen it, to be honest, Josh. It looks okay. I mean, I can't really zoom in on it on my phone too well, but yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe it's one of those things you see it in the flesh. It looks a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't hate it. It just didn't grab me. Just in comparison to the one from last year, I really liked. So, So, what round are we wearing it? Did they announce?
12.
Round 12. You're the numbers man. Always got my back.
He's on the ball.
All right, on to this weekend's game. So we're playing the Penrith Panthers 7:30 on Saturday night. Team list for the West Tigers: Jareem Bula. he will get his second game in a row at fullback. As you said on the weekend, was it you that said, I hope he doesn't have a Zaxini second game? Or was that you? I don't know why you put that. I just put it out into the podcast world. You said it in private to Gussie and I, but I just broadcasted it
completely under the bus, Josh.
But no, I expect him. Who was he against? Who was he playing against in his second game? Zaxini. Dragons was his first game.
I think we played. It might have been the Gold Coast.
Yeah, well, it
Possibly,
was the Titans at Campbelltown. Yeah.
So if he does have a shocker, what's your Instagram handle? At Aaron Thompson 93. On the wing, David Nofaluma, as I said earlier, he's back because Charlie Staines is out. Junior Tupou on the other one. Stafford Toa is in the centres again. Brent Naden returns. He's replacing Asu Kepa Owa, who has tonsillitis, apparently. So, yeah, just more bad luck for the West Tigers squad. Brandon Wakeham and Luke Brooks is in the number 7, which I don't think any of us are surprising. Ryan, being a Panthers fan and having probably the best backline, I mean, between probably you and South Sydney, the best backline for the past several years, this team probably doesn't scare you too much.
I mean, yes, I'm not shaking in my boots, but I'm actually really impressed with Buller. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good last week. I was really happy with him. So, because I watch all the games. I'm a Penrith fan, but I love the football in general as well. So that's a spot where you're going to have to actually be on point. Brent Naden is another one I'm a big fan of from when he was with us. I think he's a bit underrated. So, and David Nofaluma, I mean, he went from probably deserving an Origin jersey a couple of years ago, and I mean, you loaned him to the Storm, so it's not like he's terrible either. So
is Ryan's audio going up and down to anyone else?
Yeah, to me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Your audio.
Sorry, guys. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. It was going from quiet to loud, but yeah, you were clear. Okay, no. It was just your volume was going up and down.
Yeah, that's a bit unusual.
That's better. That's clear as now.
Technical problems.
There you go. No, he's got it now.
Cool.
But,
I think you've got some good individual players there. It's more just playing as a unit that seems to be their issue more than anything. So from my side, I look at that and I go, okay, cool. That's something for us to take advantage of, I guess.
Rob, Brent, Ryan's just mentioned Brent Naden there. It's a huge in for us.
Definitely a huge in, and I dare say he'll be back on the left centre this week to mark Stephen Crichton, who's in white hot form. So yeah, he's got a big task coming back from a collarbone issue to handle him because he's the go-to man at the moment, Mr. Crichton. So yeah, perfect timing to get Naden back.
Nofaluma back as surprising. I mean, obviously with Charlie out, they could have maybe debuted someone else, but seeing Noffa back in first grade. Actually, I'll look up when was his last first grade game. But thoughts on Noffa being back as?
Yeah, with the amount of injuries we've got in the outside backs, plus the fact that we shipped off Ken Mamalo to the Gold Coast, I'm not overly surprised to see him back. I just wasn't expecting him to come back. I kind of thought maybe he was coming back once we heard that Charlie was out, and we saw that he wasn't named in the reserve grade team yesterday. So yeah, I'm not overly surprised. I hope he actually takes hold of this opportunity to play and rips in and has a good game to kind of shut a lot of people up. That would be good to see. That'll be a wait and see thing, I suppose.
Rounds 1, 2, and 3. Noffa played this year. Any thoughts on Noffa, Rob?
I'm really surprised that he's back, but as Aaron was just saying, I guess we're so depleted in the backs and Kenny going to the Gold Coast. I thought perhaps, seeing as we look like we're going to persist with Talau, even though we signed with Manly, I thought possibly Talau would come in and Stafford Toa would get shifted to the wing. I really never thought Noffa would see first grade again. So I hope he makes the most of his opportunity. He's definitely a strong runner of the ball. So yeah, we need him to be at his best, but he's been out injured for a while, so it's his first game back in a few weeks.
What winger? Rachel makes a good point on Facebook. Still worry about his defense and reading a play. What winger will he be opposing?
I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but I think it's Taruva or something. Taruva. Ryan can help us a bit more with that.
Yeah, Tito Taruva. So if that's that side, then that's the left side. So that he'll have Peachy and Taruva on that side. Peachy's come in for Tago, who's done his pec last week. So
yeah, we'll get to
your for them with Peachy.
We'll get to your team list. In a second. We'll pick apart your boys. 4-pack exactly the same. This 4-pack's been the same for 4 or 5 weeks now. So Stefano Utoy Kamano and David Clement front row, Api Coruscant at hooker, Isaiah Papali and John Bateman in the back row, and Fanil Pole at lock. I mean, that's a good thing. The forwards, I mean, statistically, the forwards are dominating so I guess why would you make a change?
Oh, absolutely. We've got probably the best forward pack we've had in quite some time. And it's good that they're getting some consistent game time, and they're not swapping around positions like our backs seem to be doing. So yeah, it's good to see the consistency in the forwards. Hopefully they can rip in and give us a bit of it's a challenging forward pack to come up against for Penrith, but fingers crossed they can rip in and lay the best possible platform for our halves and backs that they can.
Ryan, obviously, Api Coruscant, you know him pretty well, but our 4-pack is something that's hasn't let us down this season. So, how do you think that matches up with your boys looking at our pack?
I think it matches up really well. I don't think your forwards will let you down at all this year. So if there is a point of concern for us, it'd be here.
Audio's just going in and out still a bit.
Yeah,
Ryan.
It could be my throat. My throat's a bit funny at the moment. So I apologize for that. I'm just saying, this has been your strong point this year. If there's ever something that we're going to worry about, this is where we have to be on point, because if we miss a trick, you've got great props. Api Coruscant, we all know how good he is. Like, he came in and helped us win 2 premierships. So there's no skill gap there. I think that part of the field's pretty even.
On our bench, Jake Sidkin, who played all of 2 minutes last week, he's back on the bench. Joel Fingawi, Alex Twal, and Tommy Talau, the other ones. Justin Matamua at 18th man. On the extended bench, Alex Afarth, Sean Bloor for whatever reason, Dane Laurie, and Tristan Riley as well. Rob, my guy Sean Bloor, what's he got to do to get back in the first grade? He played pretty well last week for the Magpies.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, he did throw a couple of weird passes against Parramatta in his previous outing, even though, I applaud him trying to, promote the ball and do things better. But I just think we're not getting the best out of him. He'd been my 17 every week. So, like I said, if Nathan's not right, I could still see that late switch of Talau starting Toa to the wing and Sean coming onto the bench. But I just don't like having a utility and a back / second rower on the bench. I just think that we're really light up front, on that bench there. We need more big boppers.
As anything bench that stands out for you? Obviously the same run as last
not really.
week.
Yeah, Rob's pretty much covered it. I'm a little bit iffy as well on the fact that we've got Jake and Tommy there. Tommy played, I think it was 30-odd minutes last week. We discussed on Monday, and Jake, with his all of 3-minute stint, I don't know why he's there when it would make a lot more sense to have a Matamua or a Seafarth or a Bloor in the team instead.
Before we get to the Panthers team list, just want to mention our friends at Mobile Corp, formerly known as MLC Phones. So shout outs to Stephen from Mobile Corp, passionate West Tigers fan. They can assist with anything IT related. In the early days of their business, as I just said, they were known as MLC Phones, and they sponsored the Balmain Tigers in '94. They also sponsored in Mobile Corp form. They sponsored the West Tigers in 2007. There's a saying in IT, there are only two types of companies, those who have been hacked and those who will be hacked. So what can business owners do to protect themselves from cyber attack? They can call Mobile Corp, who are passionate about helping people protect their business from cyber threats. For an affordable cyber security solution, go to mobilecorp.com.au, and shouts to our friend on the screen there, Shane Walker, who said he'd love to come back and answer more questions. So check out our episode with him if you missed it from last Tuesday, 3 episodes ago. So great chat with our friend Mr. Walker. Righto, Penrith Panthers team list. So fullback Dylan Edwards, wingers. How do you pronounce that name? Sunia Ryan?
Taruva.
It is Taruva. Okay, that was easier than I expected.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
It's literally as it says. Brian To'o on the other one. Tyrone Peachy, our old friend, is in the centres. Stephen Crichton, the other centre. Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary, as everyone's familiar with, is in the halves front row. Another old friend in Matthew Eisenhuth. He's with Moses Leota. Mitch Kenny at hooker. Second rowers are Scott Sorensen and Zach Hosking, and Isaiah Yeo at lock position. And then on the bench, Sonny Luke, Lindsay Smith, Spencer Leniu, and damn, I was on a roll too. And Jamin Salmon. Does he say salmon or salmon?
Salmon, like the fish.
Salmon, same as the fish, same spelling. Boys, look, Ryan, who's out from last week? Who are you guys missing?
So Isaac Tago, who's done his pec last week, so he's out. I mean, I don't know if you'd count May. He's gone for the whole season, so yeah, whatever.
Okay.
So Taruva's in for him, obviously. We're missing James Fisher-Harris, which is why
that's a big one.
Mate, Matt Eisenhuth is in the front row. Liam Martin's not there again for this serious injury that no one really knows what's happening with him. So even Ivan said the same thing. It's a bit of a mysterious one, that one, but he's just signed a new deal, so they can't be that worried about it. And then, on the bench, Lindsay Smith. That shifts Scott Sorensen into the second row. Lindsay Smith from our reserve grade played a couple of games now, but he only does a few minutes there on the bench. So, the forward's mostly shifting around a bit with Fish and Martin out.
I heard a little bit of a rumour today floating around the Panthers might even rest a few more players, such as their confidence. Rob, I think it was with you when they did that once before when we played them at CommBank Stadium. Was it last year or the year before? When they still beat us.
They've actually done it 2 years in a row.
No, the one we lost. The year before was Origin Week.
Yeah, then last year as well, they were missing a number of players, and we just lost that game as well.
Yeah, you and I were at CommBank Stadium, just absolutely. Yeah, I mean, pretty much every game for the West Tigers the last 3 years, but man, that was a frustrating game. Frustrating game of football, that one.
It was.
But I mean, there's Rob. There's a few players out that Brian just mentioned. I mean, can we make this a contest?
Oh, look, we can definitely make it a contest. The thing with Penrith is no matter who comes in, they all play their role. They all know what they're doing, especially in the forward pack. Their backline, even with Peachy there, they've still got more imagination and variety in that backline than we have. So I think the strength is their backline, and especially, their state of origin half combination. So that's where the difference is. We're kind of playing like we've got 2 5/8s and everything's around Appy. Penrith are just a more balanced team. I mean, obviously it's a great advantage to have Fisher-Harris and, Martin out, and obviously they don't have kick out from last year and May and what's his name, Tago. So they've got plenty of guys out, but I mean, I love our forward pack. I don't fear any forward pack at all. But the interesting thing for me this week is going to be the first 25-30 minutes, because no matter who Penrith play, they kind of blow teams out of the water in that first 30 minutes, and they've normally got the game under control by then. Yet our forward pack have been doing really well this year in the first half, even though we're conceding the first couple of tries every game. So it's just going to be a really good battle up front. But yeah, there's a couple of names we're definitely familiar with in that team in Peachy and Eisenhuth and Garner on the extended reserve. So it'll be interesting. But I think they're beatable guys, and especially if they decide to rest, I don't know, Cleary or Luai or Edwards. I mean, if they want to Crichton, I mean, if they rest a few more players, then I actually think we can win this. But the problem is we don't have a dominant halfback, and they do. Like Nathan Cleary just controls that whole game, whether it's the passing, kicking, everything. Where for us, as I said, we kind of play with 2 5/8s, and I'd love to see Brandon Wakeham just run the show. I don't care what number he's got on his back, just I want him in there at first receiver and just running things. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting. But I don't know. I was laughing at you for tipping the Tigers last week, but I kind of feel like we can beat them. I mean, they've still got enough talent there to destroy us, but I actually think we can beat them this week.
Ooh. Put your money where your mouth is.
I won't do that. I won't do that. But yeah, I actually think they look beatable. I mean, there's a lot of players missing, but again, I look at that back line, and if you take out Peachy, it's a pretty gun back line. So there's still enough there. But if we hold him in the forwards, it'll be a close game, and then it'll probably be Nathan Cleary's kicking game that'll be the difference, really.
As Bathurst as a ground, have you been there before, being an almost former local? What's it, half an hour away from Orange?
Yeah, it's about a 40 to 45 minute drive, depending on traffic.
Faster, so half
hour. not all that far. I haven't actually been to the ground for NRL. I was there for something else in my early 20s. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it is a nice place. They have a nice little setup down there and can pack a fair few fans in. Good luck to anyone going, because parking there will be an absolute nightmare for everyone, because it's basically on Bathurst's main street, and yeah, there's not a lot going for parking anywhere in that general vicinity.
Where is it in regards to Mount Panorama? Because that's the only reason I have ever gone to Bathurst, is to watch motor racing.
So when you're going up you're coming in from Lithgow, you're going up the main street and you cross the bridge and you go past the showground. You've got
showgrounds on your right. Yeah.
So as you're going up on your left, you've got a couple of cricket fields, and then the info centre. Just behind the info centre is literally the field, the stadium.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yep. I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Just a quick question for Ryan. With all those guys in the reserves, who do you see likely or potentially dropping out from your starting 13, if anything? Because it doesn't look like you have a spare half in there. So who would be coming in for who?
If anyone comes in, all the talk is Tom Jenkins. He's basically next in line. He's a winger centre. So that's basically So you're looking at there's talk of possibly going on to Taruga's wing for some niggles there. Cleary did have like a groin thing happening last week. You would have noticed he didn't kick or anything. But like you said, there isn't a half there. So if he did drop out, it would be Salmon and Luai in the halves, for example, which I don't think they'll do.
Yeah. A groin thing. I'm surprised it wasn't on TikTok.
There's still time.
Lower grades, New South Wales Cup. So you will get 2 games for your entry fee on Saturday. Magpies are playing the Panthers at 5:05 p.m. A few names in there. Brewer's back at hooker. He didn't play last week, I don't believe. I was watching the game. I don't remember him playing. Matamula's at lock. Nofaluma's named as well. And for some reason,
there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to play. He's playing 2. I mean, they used to do that, didn't they, Rob? You could back up after playing lower grades.
As Shane said, you could play 3 grades back in the day, but you had to have completed at least half a game in each grade to be eligible to be reserved for the next one.
But you had to play a minimum of half a game.
Yeah.
Geez, that'd be a long day.
Yeah.
I don't think you could go on for 10 minutes in 3rd grade and then come on in 2nd grade. I'm pretty sure of that. But we can ask Shane next time. I'm sure he mentioned it.
Okay. It's Fainu, our friend from last week, who obviously had that incident with Wakeham. He's on the bench. There any other names to look out for in New South Wales Cup this week, possibly moving their way up? I know you're pretty keen on Will Smith. Actually, we'll ask Ryman about Will Smith, obviously a former Panther. What are your thoughts on Will Smith?
That's going back a little ways now. I don't know. I think he's
He was,
one of those
where was
guys
he
who
last?
had.
Parramatta, was it? Was it Parramatta he was last?
Yeah, he went
Yeah.
from us
He
to
went to the Gold
Parramatta.
Coast.
Like he's
Gold
been around
Coast.
a bit, but yeah, he's your typical fringe first grader. He'll do a job. Probably not let you down too hard, but I wouldn't expect huge things from him either at the same time.
Jersey Flegg, apparently young talent. I didn't see the Jersey Flegg last week. They're playing at Windsor Sports Complex at 3 p.m. Windsor, obviously not in Bathurst. Windsor's closer to Richmond sort of way, like northwest Sydney. And young Talon De Silva, apparently he had a blinder in his debut in Flegg last week. That's the name we're trying to think of the other night. He's back playing in the 9 position too. So 18 years old, playing a few years up. So keeping an eye out for him. Good luck to the Flegg boys. Righto, Rob Shadam, it's time to make us some money. And what have you got for us this week?
Well, I kept it simple because there really wasn't enough time to study all the players of the teams with the team list being named today. But I think there's a few games that could go to Golden Point, and the one that strikes me as the most likely would be Canberra and the Dolphins. I think Canberra generally defend pretty well. I mean, I know they had one poor game defending a few weeks ago at home, but the Dolphins normally don't have many points in them if you discard that big comeback against the Titans. So I feel like it could be a low scoring. Well, when I say low scoring, maybe like an 18-all sort of Golden Point thing. So, and that'll be pretty juicy odds. It'll be double digits at least. So didn't really have time to get the try scorers ready, but I'd go that. I think that's going to be a pretty low scoring tight game.
They came pretty close to going to Golden Point in their game earlier this season. I think it was only a late hammer try that got the Dolphins the win in that one.
That was a really wet night at the Dolphins' home ground at Redcliffe. Yeah, Canberra was actually leading, and I think they suffered a sin bin. I think there were 2 sin bins. I think the Dolphins might have scored when they had 12 men, actually. Sean Sullivan came off. But yeah,
that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tight game, and the hammer went over. Pretty much untouched, actually, which was quite surprising given the state of the game and only a few minutes left.
On to our tips for the week. So my tips last week, obviously didn't mention on Monday because there were 2 games to happen, but I got 7. After getting 8 out of 8 last week, and on the show last Thursday. What night did we preview show? Thursday night. Rob, you begged me, don't tip the Tigers. Don't tip the Tigers.
I did.
They were my only wrong tip. I would have had 8 in a row, 2 8s in a row. And the boys, if Luke Brooks holds that fucking ball, I would have had 2 8s in a row. And I'm on 48. So I was literally, before the Tigers played, I was in the top 30. So there's like 400 odd thousand people in the tipping comp. I was in the top 30 people, and then stupidly tipped the Tigers. I think I'll check it now. I think I'm like 98th or something now, but it would have been huge because no one would have tipped the Tigers. It was worth, I don't know. I was running the risk. I'm 79th now out of 422,417. So
I think you went into the round in 49th as well. So you were top 50 going into the round.
Yeah.
What's scary, Josh, is everyone probably would have tipped Manly. So had the Tigers actually won,
that's why I said I would have jumped. I would have jumped.
You might have been in the top 10.
Because I'm only, so the leader of the entire app is on 51. I'm on 48. So it's a 2-point swing. So I would have been one, probably would have been one of the lead.
Oh, so, well, what can you do?
Not tip the Tigers. So,
well, I had 7 out of 8 and lost on a 26-0 comeback.
Yeah, so the Dolphins saved one of them.
Mucked up a perfect round for me.
Right, our tips for this week. So yeah, I'm on 48. Rob, you're on 37. As you're on 34. Just to update that, reiterate that because I'm well out in front. Sharkies, we've all gone Sharkies over. Draw in front of me. Who are Sharkies
Cowboys.
playing? Cowboys. Yeah, they're pretty heavy favourites at home. Ryan, who you got in this game?
Yeah, I can't really go past the Sharks. They got
Sharks
good
at
football
home.
in them.
Yeah, Sharks at home. I'd almost tip they're pretty good at home.
I mean, I can't tip against Nico Hines. I mean, look at that man.
Yeah, he's a good Central Coast boy too. So
I think it'll be closer than everyone thinks. That they're playing for the inaugural Paul Green Cup.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's cool.
So that'll be quite an emotional night. I think Jeremiah Nanai might be in a little bit of doubt as well, but yeah, I think it'll be a pretty tight game. But you'd say Cronulla should get the chocolates.
We've all said Parramatta over Newcastle. Ryan, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty confident one. That one.
Anyone got any reason why Para wouldn't win this? They're again at home, pretty hard to beat. Newcastle.
Yeah, I do. I've tipped them, but again, Parramatta are a better version of us. They don't seem to have points in them this year, and Newcastle played really well 2 weeks in a row against the Cowboys, and previously against Penrith, they took them to golden points. So, Parramatta had to travel to Darwin as well. So, I don't think it's straightforward. There's quite a few games that are difficult this week, but you just think that the class of Moses and Dylan, Dylan Brown would get them through that game.
We've all tipped NBA 4. Our friend NBA 4K, he's asked, is that on Sportsbet? In terms of the tipping comp, no, we use the ESPN app.
ESPN.
So we've got a little Patreon comp going on in there, set up as set it up. And how far is my lead? Good reminder. Let's see. I actually didn't mention. I think I'm 9 ahead of 8. I know Will's 8. Will Sinclair's only 8 behind me now, so he's
only 8. He says.
Only 8. We've all tipped South to beat the Broncos. I actually had the Broncos, and then not knowing that they had a few people out, so switched the Bunnies. But tipping against the Broncos at Suncorp didn't feel right to me, but
it won't be easy. But Payne Haas is a big out.
As soon as I heard that,
yeah, and Ezra Mann's out, Corey Oates is out, so they got a few missing there, but they've got enough talent to still hurt South. But I think when South are level in the forward battle, they tend to win, and I think that's South's weakness. Their forward pack, when they're missing a couple of guys, they just look a little bit light. So I think they've got players coming back, and Brisbane are missing Haas. So I think that definitely tips it in South's favour.
Now, as you've gone the Dolphins in Canberra, and Rob and I, this is literally the only tip. We all tip the same, but as you've gone Dolphins over the Raiders. I mean, Raiders at home. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the Finns to get up, but yeah, Canberra at home, I don't know. They do suck this year, but I don't know. I actually don't know this one. This one's tough.
Yeah. Well, I've tipped golden points, so that shows you how confident I am.
Yeah.
It's a toss of the coin, absolute toss of the coin. And with Jack Whiten signing with South, you don't know how that's going to affect, whether that's going to be bad for morale or they're going to come out fired up. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins won.
People shouldn't take my word for it, because I'm having an awful year with the tipping this year. But I just think there's a bit more to like about the Dolphins. They've shown me a bit more in recent weeks and early weeks than the Raiders have. The Raiders are struggling down the bottom end of the ladder with us, and the Dolphins, I think, are still hovering around the edge of the top 8. I think they might be sitting in 8th currently. I think they've got what it takes to pull this one out.
Ryan, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I would go Dolphins with Aaron on that one. We all know the inconsistent football Canberra have played, and now they've just had all the Jack White and stuff in the last 24 hours blow up in their face. So I think there's going to be a mental edge for the Dolphins there, coming off that big win.
If there's a team in the comp that I'd like to play at the moment, I think Canberra might be. I don't know. If you boys could play any team in the comp this weekend, who would you choose?
St George.
Still the Dragons. They looked all right against the Chooks yesterday.
Yeah, but they played on Tuesday. So they'd have less time to
What day is
recover. They did play very well. But
Oh,
I just think those Anzac Day games can be so emotionally draining. They get up from
Yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
final that the next week they can just be a little bit down, a little bit flat.
I don't
Yeah,
know. The
okay.
Wars might not be a bad shout for a team to play this week, considering the carnage that they experienced down in Melbourne.
Yeah,
Who?
the New Zealand Warriors.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, they've got a few.
Everyone's calling them the Wars on Twitter. I'm joining in.
The Wars. I thought Waratahs when you said that for some reason. I haven't watched rugby union since Stephen Larkham was playing. But next game, we've all tipped Manly over the Gold Coast. Manly Brookie. Yeah, I mean, they weren't overly convincing against us, but you think they'll get it done.
This might be one that I'll be changing tips on. I really don't know what to do with this game. Manly missing a few players. Gold Coast have got the talent, but they're just mentally piss weak. So I just went Manly because they're tougher.
Anyone oppose that?
No, I just went home field advantage for this one. I think Brookie adds an extra element of advantage for them.
Garrick switched to the centres. They've dropped Schuster. They've put Cooper Johns in at 5'8". Turbo's still 50-50. I don't know. If Turbo's out, I'll be changing my tip.
Yeah, true. If Turbo, I will consider that too. Yeah. We've all tipped the Penny Panthers to beat our beloved West Tigers. Ryan, are we bad fans for tipping against our team?
I wouldn't say bad fans. At some point, they owe you. They need to show you a reason to give them the faith, right? Like we've all.
Yeah,
been
well, I
at
did
some
last
point.
week, but
Exactly.
I think they showed enough last week to give us faith, but we're playing the Premiers coming off a loss where they were up by 2 scores with less than 5 minutes left. I don't think they're going to take it easy on us.
Yeah, look, if we're playing the Bulldogs, the Dragons, Warriors, I'm just looking at the teams, even the Gold Coast, Raiders, Knights, I'd probably tip us against those teams this week. If we're at home, I'd probably go us. But yeah, against Penrith, it sucks just these close losses because we hit the Premiers. It's like, yeah, it's tough.
But I mean, if you're going to play us, it's a good week to play us. So
definitely,
yeah. We've all gone Chooks over the Warriors, but now you just said, Rob, that they played on Tuesday, so that's a 5-day turnaround?
Yeah, so did the
4 day?
Warriors.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh, yeah,
the Warriors played after them, and they're missing Tohu Harris. They're missing Nickel Clockstad. I think Dylan Walker's copped a suspension, so they've got a few outs. So I mean, I'm sure they'll put on a brave performance, but the Roosters, I don't think they're going to be missing anyone except perhaps Tupu. So yeah, I think the Roosters are just a lot healthier, and they should be able to do a job on them.
I just saw Shane Coates answer for who he'd play against. He'd play against the Crushers. Shouts Mario Fennick.
Yeah, or the bye,
The bye wasn't fun. I actually didn't enjoy the bye weekend. Dragons, we've all tipped Dragons over the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are struggling a bit. Again, if we played them, round 3? If we played them now, I reckon we'd get them. But
yeah, they're the walking wounded at the moment. They've been absolutely decimated. But the good thing for them and their fans is they're still showing heart and putting in a lot of effort, despite the circumstances they're in.
West Tigers.
One big advantage Canterbury will have, Josh, is they've had 3 days rest on St George. So I've tipped St George. They're playing much better. Canterbury are missing players, but that'll be a lot closer than everyone thinks.
Anything to add there, Ryan?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. The Bulldogs outs just make that too difficult for them, I think, and the Dragons do have some good football in them. I'd go straight the other way if they had their players, but it is what it is.
Just a reminder, if you would like to advertise your company on our show, give us an email at podcast@westlife.com. give us a buzz. And on to the Patreon questions, patreon.com/Westlife. If you want to join the guys in our Discord. I realized the other day that some people might not know what a Discord is. So basically it's an app where you set up. Rob, I don't think you'd use Discord until we set one up. So look, I wouldn't say you're bad at technology, but you're not an IT professional, and you
can say I'm a dinosaur, mate. That's fine. I'm a dinosaur.
No, I wouldn't say you.
I can use it, but I'm not. Once I learn how to use it, I'm fine. It's just getting me to understand it all at the beginning. That's a bit, can be a bit tricky. But yeah,
I think your age, you're basically a Gen Xer. Like you say when we give you a little bit of stick that you're old, but when you're in your 50s, I think if you're in your 50s in 2023, the computer's been around for what? Everyone had a computer by year 2000, so you would have had a computer in your 30s. I think if
I can use a computer
now, but I think people that say, "Oh, I'm old and I don't use a computer," I think unless you if you're not in your if you're in your 70s, like maybe, but if you're in your 50s and don't know how to send an email or log on to the internet, I think you're using your age as an excuse. You're not that old anymore. Computers and the internet's been around for 2 decades. That's what a dinosaur would be. You're still young, Rob. I wouldn't.
Thanks, Josh. Now no one's going to help me anymore, but that's okay.
Only question we have is J Danger Ross. He said, should we try Sean's older brother Dean Blore? He can play in the halves and at 9. I think he's playing Shoot Shield Rugby Union at the moment. Obviously a Panthers junior, so not a bad question. Ryan, did you ever see much of Sean Blore's brother Dean being a Panthers junior?
Yeah, he actually had a reasonable kicking game, like goal kicking and whatnot.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't think he'd let you down. It's just a matter of whether the coaches would have some faith in him to do the job. But no, he played quite a while in our juniors. So,
boys, anyone got any thoughts on?
I've never seen him play, Josh, so I really can't comment.
So.
But I don't think it matters who that person is if they're not going to be, let control the team. Like you've got to be allowed to control the team and run it like both sides of the ruck, and we don't have that at the moment. I don't see the Wakeham or Brooks coming over to the other side of the field too much. Like Brooks did do it last week for Charlie Staines' try, but predominantly he stays on the left side and Wakeham stays on the right. I just like to see Wakeham run the show and just have Brooksy follow him and back up. But I don't know what it's going to take to see that, guys. Maybe another 6 weeks of experimenting, and hopefully Jakey Simpkin will rack up another 80 minutes cumulatively by the end of the season.
I didn't realise this, that Sean Blore played for the junior Kangaroos and Dean played for the junior Kiwis. They played against each other.
And they're brothers?
Yeah, so they're half... their mum is Samoan and their dad's Aussie. So,
okay,
yeah, their dad's actually a Dicky Die Aussie. Yeah, so I guess they've gone, but this I'm pretty sure they're Samoan, so I'm not sure why he would have played for New Zealand. There must be some New Zealand link somewhere, but yeah, it's very odd for brothers to play in opposing
definitely
countries. But yeah, anything else to add before we say goodnight to Big Dog? Thanks to everyone joining us in the stream tonight. Anything else that we've not covered? Thanks for coming on tonight, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, and all the best for the weekend.
No, not at all, guys. I think we've covered most of it. I just hope the boys can somehow find that motivation again to get up and give Penrith a run for their money.
Any parting words?
No, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, fingers crossed they can put in a good performance for us, and I don't know, a win would be nice. Any advice for how I'm driving to Bathurst? What's any shortcuts? I mean, you can only really go over the mountains. Head west. Yeah, the only I don't think I can actually suggest a shortcut for you. they're all just long cuts. Apparently, they've got to build that tunnel under the mountain, but apparently, I think they've abolished that, haven't they? I don't know. There's still signs up for it through parts of the mountains. But while I'm thinking about it, stop into the Lollybug and give them some patronage now they've reopened.
Oh, that's at Hartley.
Yeah, Hartley.
Hartley, yeah. My wife, they had a holiday. There's a little horse and motocross park there. My missus and I've been there a couple of times with them. Yeah, little Hartley. I do know that little lolly shop. Yeah, it's just literally as you come down the mountain, it's basically a kilometre past it.
Yeah.
So
it was absolutely devastating when they got when they burnt down last year. So it's good to see them open, and we should give them our patronage.
Beautiful
promo there.
Righto, everyone. Thank you, and enjoy your weekends. Drive safe if you're heading out to Bathurst. Watch out for the black ice if you're heading out if it's too cold. Is there black ice? I only ever drive to Bathurst in early October, so that's all I know about that drive.
Yeah, you're unlikely to have to deal with ice until July on the way out to Bathurst.
Lucky we got a former local on. Righto, boys. As always, Ryan, you don't have to partake in this little line part of the show, but everyone knows we always say, go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Westlife Podcast. Please follow us at Westlife Pod on Instagram and Twitter and facebook.com/Westlife Pod. You can also support and take part in the show at patreon.com/Westlife and give us a subscribe on YouTube and turn notifications on. We'll see you again next time on another episode of the Westlife Podcast.